Hi Capricorns, Trishna here. Welcome to your September 2019 love reading. Before we get into the reading, I just want to let you know that I've started doing extended readings again. If you're interested in that, I'll talk more about what's going to be included in that at the end of this video. So getting into the love reading. So what I'm feeling for you is I feel like your relationships and your love life at this point in time is in an all right, okay kind of place. It's not really going super well, not going bad at all, just kind of in an all right place. I feel like there were some expectations that you had in your relationship, or you just had this vision of how you thought things were going to go, and they haven't really quite gone that way. And so I feel like you're kind of having to come to terms with that and kind of adjust to the relationship as it is compared to the relationship as you thought it was going to go based off of past information and how things used to be. I also feel like, there might be a few issues here and there. I feel like that's more just the relationship settling into how it actually is going to be. And so, I feel like you know that and you're really not addressing those issues because they don't really need to be addressed. Some things just need to settle in over time, and you just kind of have to get used to each other and kind of adapt to how things are going to be, again, in kind of comparison to how you thought they were going to be based off of how they used to be. And I do also feel like there's a little bit of, I don't want to say boredom, but like, again, things just aren't really how you thought they were going to be. And so, maybe there could be a little more excitement going on in your relationship than there currently is. But I think that you're actually fine with that. And, you're really just taking this as an opportunity for you to focus on other things in your life, like your career, your business, working on yourself. And, Capricorn, you really are open to any opportunity that gives you more time to do things like that. And you're always appreciative of it. So, really no complaints there. Like, I think you would like things in your relationship to be a little bit different or to be a little bit better, but like, really no complaints. And you're okay to settle and adapt to how things are going to be just because that is kind of your nature to kind of adapt to your situation. And I think for some of you, what kind of led to this place is I feel like maybe something in the past didn't really go as expected, or like kind of surprised you, or something kind of seemed like it got out of control, and I feel like you still haven't really processed through that, or you haven't really come to terms with that, or you don't fully understand what it was that really happened. Like, your mind is still a little jumbled around that and what to do about it and how to handle it, and that kind of thing. And so until you really know how to handle that, or like what you saw happen or what surprised you, there really isn't anything to talk about. Like, you really don't know how to move forward. It's just something that's kind of processing in your mind. And, again, it's probably related a little bit to some of the kinks that you are kind of allowing to settle in and you're trying to adapt to. So there is some of that. I feel like, whatever is going on in your relationship, whatever expectations you thought were going to be different, you're really not speaking up about right now. And I think that's kind of your block, is like you are holding it in a little bit. And, and the reason why I think is because I almost don't want to say this like to the world, but I'm sure somebody has said this before, but Capricorns can be like very sensitive souls. And I think that for some people, that may come as a surprise because like Capricorns are kind of known as being like, I don't know, I guess they kind of have the stigma of being boring or just being very reserved. And, boring I don't think is necessarily accurate. I think anybody can be boring. Also, any sign can be sensitive, but, there's not really one sign that's more sensitive than other signs. It's really more about the individual personality and like the whole chart and everything. But going by generalities, Capricorns can kind of be seen as being a little reserved, but the Capricorn sister sign is Cancer, and Cancer is often labeled as the most sensitive sign. And when you have a sister sign that is the most sensitive sign, like, you also are going to be extremely sensitive as well. It's just that Capricorns are very responsible with with everything, but also with their emotions, and they don't want to throw out their emotions and put that burden on other people or like lash out. They like to be very careful with how they're feeling. They like to process it. They like to know that they like to assess like what kind of impact that's going to have on somebody else, and if it's going to be a negative impact that's going to be on somebody else that they love, they don't want to throw their baggage onto someone else and have that person now go through some kind of turmoil that is not necessary, that's not going to move things forward, that's only going to hurt them. So Capricorns are actually very sensitive, but they're very cautious and very responsible with their emotions and what they put out into the world, because they are very aware of how things you say and things you feel and things you put out there can affect others, and they don't want to put out unnecessary hurt if it's not going to help anybody, if it's only going to hurt. And so I almost don't want to put this out there, but part of the reason why you are not sharing what's going on is because you need to process, and you are also very sensitive, and you don't really want, when you bring something up, a lot of your sensitivities can come to the surface, and you don't like to display that. You like to be reserved because you like to be very calm, collected, and cool. Partly because you like to be responsible, but also partly because you are a really strong person. You're very resilient, and that's something that you want. That's just how you portray things. You just don't, you overflow with emotions, but you don't like to show that. You're noble in your emotions. You are very responsible, noble. Okay. So that's why you're really not bringing things up, is because you're very sensitive. You don't want it to bubble up to the surface, and you would rather process some things before you really put it out there. So it's kind of a combination of a few different things. And I feel like that's really your block, is you're not really letting this out. You're not really expressing this. But I also want to say that I don't really feel like this is a time for you to express this. And even though this is your block, I feel like you shouldn't beat yourself up over this, because this is a block that's going to remove itself. I feel like currently you're in your relationship and things really aren't going as expected, and you're doing your best to adapt to it. And you're taking this as the opportunity. You're finding the silver lining of hey, I can use some of my emotional energy into other areas of my life right now, because it's really not going anywhere in this area. So you're really using this as an opportunity to better yourself in other areas. And the reason why I say that this is going to resolve itself, and this is not really the time for you to bring up this conversation, is because I feel like whatever it is that you are kind of holding on to right now, it's good for you to do that at this point in time. This is a time for you to be quiet, because you're going through an internal transformation, and you are coming to terms with your situation as it is. And I feel like this is a time when it is good to keep this within yourself, because you are developing a strength. That's how you're transforming, is you're growing some kind of strength within yourself that is building, and it's building through this quiet side of you. And I also want to say that sometimes we have this desire to actually express ourselves, because it's actually going to move things forward, and then other times we have these desires to keep things within ourselves. And I think it's really important to listen to yourself. If you are feeling called to express something, then it's time to express it, or it's getting close to time to express it. And maybe you just need to figure out the right wording. When you're being called to stay quiet, that's because it's time to stay quiet, because some kind of transformation, some kind of understanding, some kind of growth is happening within yourself, and you're not yet ready to express that. This is a time for you to keep things to yourself and to really be within yourself. And that's the journey that you're on right now, is this is a time for you to kind of go within yourself and let whatever needs to be processed get processed, because it's going to be transformative for you. It's building some kind of strength for you, inner strength that you're going to have, that you'll be able to take with you later. And once you've kind of processed through that, maybe then it will be time for you to bring this up to your partner. But I think right now it's just not the time. So really so I guess really the block isn't so much that you're holding things in, it's that you're not trusting that it's okay to hold things in. And it is okay to hold things in. So please trust yourself. Trust your emotions. Trust your instincts on when something needs to be said and when something doesn't need to be said. And I'm kind of getting to share something with you that I guess will help you. It's related but not directly related, but I am being called to share it with you. So, sometimes I have a very quiet voice. You may not notice that on these videos, but if I go to a bar, or if I'm in a crowd, if I'm in a group of people and I say something, most of the time people aren't really going to hear it unless I'm yelling. And even when I'm yelling, if it's a bar, a lot of times people are like, what did you say? Like, could you repeat that? Because like I just have a very, very soft voice, and it's one of the things that like I sometimes don't like about myself, but also as it applies, it's kind of helpful because what I found is sometimes I'll say something, and if nobody hears it, I realize that it's because it's not meant to be said right now. It wasn't meant to be heard. It wasn't meant to be shared. Or, if I start saying something and somebody interrupts me and then doesn't bring the conversation back around, I take that as a sign of like, I wasn't supposed to share that. That was supposed to be for me right now. And so, like, this applies to you because there are moments when you want to share and express what's going on with you because internally there's a part of you that knows this needs to come out. But then there are moments when there's nothing that you can say, like you don't have the words, you haven't processed things, you don't even know where to begin, and so there's nothing to say and you hold it in, and that's because it's not time for it to be said. So really just trust your instincts when it comes to your emotions and what you do or do not share and when you do or do not share it. So basically the lesson to take away from this is really to trust in yourself and what you're feeling and when you want to express something or not. And so looking into September, I feel like this month of September is going to be a little rough for you. For you, not for the relationship. I don't think that your journey this month is really going to affect your relationship that much, but you are going to have a rough month personally. This month is really going to be about you going within. And the reason why this month is going to be a little rough for you is because you're going to be going within and you're going to be having time to reflect on yourself and really work on yourself and grow on yourself. And I think that you're going to come to some realizations that may feel painful to you, even though they're really just realizations and observations, but they may feel very painful to you. And the realizations that I think that you're going to come across are like something that I really think that you should focus on during this month is I think you should ask yourself, why is it that you are always the one adapting to other people? And why aren't you ever having other people adapt to you? Why is it that other people are always the ones putting you on your toes, but you never go out and put other people on their toes? And, what keeps you from delivering that to other people? Like, what makes that so uncomfortable for you to be able to value, I guess, yourself in some ways to where, if you're always adapting to other people, like valuing yourself enough to be like, sometimes they need to adapt for you. Like, and I feel like there's, a couple reasons for that. I think one of the reasons is just your deep sense of sensitivity and um, empathicness, where you really understand. I think you've been hurt many, many times before, and so you really understand. I guess this also goes back to the whole emotional responsibility side, where you really understand how what you do and what you say and what you ask for and what you put out there can really affect somebody. And so that sensitivity gives you this very deep of understanding that you always have. And so, you don't want to put other people through that. And so you're very reserved in a lot of ways for that reason, because you're very in control of like how you affect other people. And I think that's good, but I also feel like that's not always your responsibility to bear. And so that's something that I think that you need to evaluate. I think another reason why you're always the one adapting to other people and no one's ever really adapting to you is kind of goes around some self-confidence work that I think that you need to do. I guess it all kind of revolves around like the self-value, self-worth kind of work that you need to do. And so these are just some things that, I think you're really going to be reflecting on this month and some questions that I really think that you need to ask and really dive into and get an understanding about, because only when you have an understanding of what's going on and what's really causing it and why you feel certain ways and why you act in certain ways and why you have repeating patterns, only then can you really know how to address them, because until you can define the problem, you can't really define the answer. So, yeah, I feel like September is going to be a little bit of a rough month in that respect, but like, it's really a very positive thing, because when you really explore the root cause of these things, it can be so transformational and just like give you such a different perspective on life and, you know, really help you have more compassion for yourself and also see the benefits that can come from making others adapt and making others have to be on their toes. Because, you know, when somebody else hasn't had to really experience that, they don't know the impact that they are causing to you or to other people. Only when they've experienced that can they start to build some sensitivities in themselves so that they can be more responsible in what they put out into the world. And so, you know, you may need to be a guide for other people to help them become more sensitive because a lot a lot of what's going on in our society is people not really being sensitive to others. And I feel like that's like a really broad statement. I feel like society for the most part is actually, you know, pretty good, but like, you know, sometimes we don't have the level of compassion that we need to be able to take humanity to the next stage of evolution for us to like really move beyond some of these blocks and barriers that we have as societies. And so, you know, like this is kind of, you don't like to be the person that teaches those lessons. Capricorns are also very nurturing and very warm, and so that's another reason why you adapt versus provoke. It's because like you like to nurture and you like to take care of people and you really feel for them when they are hurt. And so to kind of have to make them adapt to you or put them on their toes goes against everything that you are. But this is an area of growth for you because like you are supposed to be a leader, and when you are always adapting to other people, you're not being who you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be a leader. You're supposed to be the one that takes charge. So see yourself as the guide who is taking leadership and guiding others to become more sensitive and become more responsible with what they put out there because there's a lot of people that still need to learn those lessons that, you know, when you have issues, a lot of that needs to be resolved within yourself. You can't throw it on other people and make and suddenly like hurt them and then they now have to work on things like, so you need to be a leader and like you need to first find the strength in being a sensitive being and being an empathic being, and then you need to understand that you are a leader and a guide for others, and you need to help others learn how to be responsible. That's the lesson that they need to learn. So you need to learn to value your strength and to value the fact that you are a leader, and you need to help other people value being responsible with what they put out there, the energy that they throw out onto other people. So I hope that this makes sense. I feel like we covered a lot of different things and, you know, it all kind of comes together, but there's also a lot of different things for you to keep in mind. And I feel like that's going to be September. It's going to be a lot of this reflection and like a lot of these different things and like different questions that you're asking and different things that you're noticing about yourself and like really having this kind of jumble of a month of trying to figure things out. But when you come out of it, like you're going to be you're going to be a new person. You're going to be different. You're going to be stronger. You're going to have this strength in you that is currently building in the silence that you're keeping. And it's going to come out and you're going to have an amazing transformation and growth, and it's going to be very valuable, I think, for you and your happiness and your relationships. So, you know, this is a love reading. I feel like a lot of this, like, this month is actually going to be about you. It's not so much about your relationship, but it's all tied around the relationship that you're in right now. That's what's triggering this growth in you. So, yeah, I hope this is helpful. Before I wrap up this video, I do want to talk to you about the extended videos, extended readings that I'll be doing. So, I used to do extended readings about a year and a half ago. I used to put them up on Vimeo. I'm now going to be doing them on Patreon, and the link will be below in the description box. And basically what you'll get out of this extended reading is we're going to go deeper into your current situation, your current relationship, everything that we've really talked about. And we're also going to talk about more strengths that you bring to the table that you can leverage to improve the relationships that you have in your life and to improve the relationships that come into your life. We're also going to go into areas of weakness, which are really areas of growth, and how to work on those so that you can really open up new potentials and really maximize the success that you have in your relationships and really kind of like free you in many ways. And then we're also going to go into your fears and your blocks and really kind of release what is holding you back from going after and receiving the things that you really want in your relationship, from the things that are holding you back from the ultimate success that you would like to see in your relationships. And then we're also going to wrap up that video by looking into the future potentials of if you work on the blocks we talked about in this video, and if you work on the blocks that we talk about in the extended video, what does your future look like then? What do your relationships potentials look like then? What can you expect? So that's what we're going to talk about things in the extended video. If you're interested in that, I will see you there. If not, I hope I earned your like and your subscribe. And thank you so much. Please leave a comment, and I will see you in my next video on YouTube.